Well, let's stay in that province because it seemed that the world attended Africa's Travel Indaba. It's one of the largest tourism events on the continent, welcoming over 4,000 delegates. The event bulged with stakeholders from all across Africa and the globe. As it closed, the key focus now needs to be on how to build on the showcase with lasting, sustainable prospects for operators and service providers. Legacy Hotels and Resorts is a privately owned company here in South Africa, and its sales director, Hara Jackson, is with Legacy and will share her perspective on the highlights and opportunities of the Indaba. Good evening to you and welcome. So thousands of delegates and hundreds of buyers really from across the world showing up at the Indaba. How big of a networking opportunity for business was this?
It was a major opportunity, and it had been something we were lacking face to face in the last 2 years. So it was a great opportunity for all the stakeholders to kind of meet and to discuss the future of tourism and bringing international visitors back to South Africa.
Well, COVID certainly did a number, Hara, on the hospitality and travel and tourism sector. What is the biggest gain here for you as a hotel chain in a niche environment?
COVID certainly did a major disservice to the industry in the last 2 years. But you know what? At the same time, it taught us to think differently. It taught us to change, and through that we survived. And now it's teaching us that we need to thrive. So for us as a niche South African company, if I look at Indaba, we've had the opportunity to speak to over 100 international buyers. We've had the opportunity to showcase the best of South Africa, and we really do. I mean, our properties are sitting in environments where we showcase the best of South Africa, from Cape Town to major, bush environments. So it's Indaba played a major role. We've managed to do this digitally over the last 2 years, but we're in an industry where face-to-face is important. We're in a human industry. Indaba brought that back, and it was time. It was time for us to engage face-to-face and to start that reconnection and that process again.
And I hear that so often because for the first time it's so almost weird to see people so happy to see other people, even if it's for business, But you talked about being anchored here in South Africa, but how should operators like yourselves interpret the opportunity to work in collaboration with other African players and networks to really build a cross-continental offering that broadens your value chain?
Yes, and I think when you say cross-continental, I think South Africa has a major role to play in Southern Africa. I think East Africa, West Africa, North Africa kind of have their own tourism footprint and their own approach. But I think South Africa is pivotal in with our neighboring countries and our Southern African partners and countries. We're critical in bringing tourism to South Africa. We've got such incredible add-on products to each other's, major destinations. Whether you're doing South Africa and you've got to do Cape Town and you've got to do the Kruger, you've then got to add Victoria Falls, whether it's the Zambian or the Zimbabwean side. You've got to go to Namibia and experience the desert and everything that country's got to offer. So, we as a Southern African tourism environment have a major role to play in bringing the industry back and the tourists back down south. And we've got to make sure that we make it easy. We've got to have airlift to the southern parts of South Africa. We've got to make sure that cross-border regulations work and are easy for tourists to travel. So all of those things have to be discussed. They've got to be tabled, and we've got to work together to ensure that we put the best of Southern Africa forward.
Right. So more broadly speaking, the latest hotel data from Stats SA shows that the tourism industry here in South Africa has still not recovered to pre-pandemic levels. You've got long-term travel trends pointing to some notable structural shifts. But, what can you tell us about how you're planning to spur growth rates, especially when any of the gains that I've just been talking about now are coming off a very low base?
Yeah, I mean, the percentages look amazing year on year, but it is a very low base that we're looking at. If we look at it, we're probably sitting at close to 50% of what we were sitting at in 2019, 2020, just pre-pandemic. The only way we're going to kind of reach those numbers again is that we've got to make ourselves an accessible product. Durban was amazing in everything that it's faced in the last 10 days. As such, or 10 days ago, to being able to host an international event.
Yeah.
So we're very good. We're very good as South Africans actually pulling things together and making things happen. So I think as a country and as a company, as Legacy, we'll find ways of getting back to those pre-pandemic numbers.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see regional travel. I mean, we've had domestic travel bring us through in the last 2 years. We're going to start seeing a lot more regional travel coming to South Africa. And then I think in the course of the next year, we'll see the multi-generational family, the individual travelers, the couples. They're going to be the first to return to South Africa. They already have, and obviously to the neighbouring countries as well. And I think it's going to take a bit longer. It's going to take into late 24, into 25 to actually start seeing the groups and the more mass tourism visiting our shores.
But that's a really sort of sober...
industry.
It's a sober observation you make about KwaZulu-Natal. That was my thought as well. You've got thousands of people jetting in, and the province was able to handle that. It was able to give people a really great experience, even in the context of their disaster management reality. So, again, you talked about resilience, and that is something we are certainly known for. And it was wonderful to see it shine for this occasion. Thank you very much for talking to us.